Hi, I'm Dr. Delphina JOYce, Messenger of Joy with Joy Journey Options You Choose. And today I'm going to teach you a little bit about the restricted mindset. The restricted mindset is a low joy, low skill state. And what that means is that a person's thoughts are operating with fear, doubt, and limiting beliefs are blocking a person's inner power and it's diminishing a sense of possibility. This mindset keeps a person stuck in what I call the survival mode. In the restricted mindset, a person feels disconnected. They don't see their choices. They believe that they're a victim and life is happening to them. They're oftentimes guided by old patterns and triggered by things that bother them very easily. They don't have the skills to handle some of the challenges that come with life, and they're unable to actually see possibilities, even if possibilities are present. Ultimately, the restricted mindset closes off joy. It hinders clarity and it shrinks confidence. It makes it difficult for a person to take purposeful actions and lead oneself forward. Why? Because they can't see past the negative. That is the restricted mindset. So today, your journey is inviting you to consider what I call the joy shift. The joy shift is moving from the restricted mindset to the awakening mindset. And that means that you're going to grow in awareness. This gives a person the opportunity to recognize the mindset they're operating in, the patterns of behavior, and if there are any limiting beliefs. Because you see, leadership starts within. Joy is journey options you choose. It's about your personal agency. It's about your free will. And you can access joy. Why? Because it's your gift. It's internal. And you have choices that you can make that can increase your joy. It's about your personal development. So let's dive in, learn a little bit about the restricted mindset. And while you're watching this upcoming video, consider the reflection.
You know that feeling like you're just spinning your wheels, going absolutely nowhere? It's more than just having a bad day, right? It's a real mental state, kind of like a trap we can all fall into. But what if I told you there's a name for it? And even better, a clear map to get out of it? Well, that's what we're going to do. We're going to dive into what's called the restricted mindset and figure out how to break free. So let me ask you this straight up. Ever feel like you're stuck? It sounds like such a simple question, but man, the feeling itself is so complex, isn't it? It's that hamster wheel feeling. You're just repeating the same old patterns, hitting the same frustrations over and over again. If that sounds familiar at all, I just want you to know you are definitely not alone. This is something pretty much all of us go through. And you know that feeling of being stuck? It doesn't usually show up by itself. Oh no, it brings its friends along for the ride. Suddenly you're feeling overwhelmed, maybe disconnected from what you're actually capable of. You find yourself just reacting to everything all the time instead of making choices. It's that classic feeling like life is just happening to you, not from you. Okay, so there's actually a name for this whole state of being. It's called the restricted mindset. And look, the first step to fixing any problem is to be able to name it, right? But this isn't just some fancy label. It's a really useful tool. Because when you name it, you stop seeing it as some kind of personal failing, and you start seeing it for what it is, just a pattern of thought. And the best part about patterns? They can be understood, and they can absolutely be changed. All right, so to really get a grip on this, let's look at a kind of map. This is the Joy Mindset Success Quadrant. It's pretty cool, actually. It basically measures two things: your inner alignment, let's call that your joy, and your outer ability, are your skills. So way up top, you've got flourishing. That's when both are high. You are just crushing it. Then there's performing. You've got the skills, but the joy is missing. Awakening is the opposite. You feel good inside, but you're still working on the skills part. And then look down there in that bottom corner. That's where we find the restricted state. It's where both your inner joy and your outer skills feel low. But here's the thing, it's also the starting point. So really, the main thing to get here is that this is the lowest energy state you can be in. It's like your internal compass is all out of whack, and your confidence in what you can actually do is just shot. It becomes this nasty feedback loop where your own mindset is the thing blocking you from feeling any joy. Okay, so we've kind of defined it from the outside looking in, but what's it actually feel like on the inside? What's going on in your head when you're in that restricted mindset? Let's pull back the curtain a bit and talk about that internal experience. And check out how these things connect. It's not just a random list of bad feelings, it's more like a domino effect. It kicks off with that feeling of being stuck, right? And that leads to feeling disconnected from your own inner power. Once that happens, boom, fear and doubt jump into the driver's seat. And before you know it, your whole world just feels like it's shrinking until you're totally boxed in. And that's why it feels so dang hard to break out of it. It's basically an internal takeover. All those limiting beliefs you have, they get cranked up to volume 11 and they become the loudest voice in your head. You build up these emotional walls that totally block out your intuition. Your old unhelpful patterns just go on repeat. Your whole system just switches gears from expressing yourself to just protecting yourself. And that little voice in your head just becomes this painful, repetitive soundtrack, right? You're asking, why am I stuck? Why can't I move forward? You know you're repeating the same patterns, but you just feel completely powerless to do anything about it. I mean, wow, it is an exhausting and super frustrating place to be. This really says it all. Being in the restricted mindset, it's the difference between just surviving and actually thriving. It's like getting just enough water not to wilt versus having everything you need to really, truly flourish. Okay, but after hearing all of that, I want you to listen really closely because this is the most important part of this whole thing. This is not a permanent state. There is a turning point, and that, my friends, is the good news. Seriously, let that sink in for a second. The restricted mindset might feel like a cage, but it is not a life sentence. It's a temporary state you're in. It is not a permanent definition of who you are as a person. So the real key to getting unstuck is just recognizing this one fundamental truth. You always have a choice. I know, sometimes it feels like all your options are gone. But even then, the power to choose is still there. It might be a tiny little choice, but it is always there. So if we have a choice, what does that path forward actually look like? Well, it's a journey from that restricted mindset all the way over to what's called the awakening mindset. And this journey is powered by 4 key tools. First up, awareness. You just can't change what you don't acknowledge, right? Then comes what we call leadership of self. That's you consciously deciding to grab the steering wheel again. From there, you start making what are called joy-aligned choices. These are small actions that just feel right, feel true to you, even if they're kind of hard. And last but not least, mindset and skill development, the actual work of building a new way of thinking and learning new things. And every single time you use one of these tools, it's like you're building another rung on a ladder. You are actively climbing out of that restricted place and into the awakening mindset. And this is where it starts to get really exciting. Your skills, they might still be a work in progress, and that's totally okay. But you start to feel that inner alignment click back into place. That little spark of joy starts to come back. And remember, this isn't about taking some massive, scary leap. Not at all. It's about a whole series of small, courageous choices. Every time you choose awareness instead of just going on autopilot, or you pick a joy-aligned action over that same old pattern, you are literally shifting yourself upward. So that brings it all back to you, right here, right now. This isn't just some abstract theory. It's a call to action. So forget about the giant leap for a second. Just look at your life right at this moment and ask yourself this simple question. What is one small, courageous choice I can make today to start shifting upward?
Okay, let's talk about the joy mindset success quadrant. Is your mindset possibly holding your power hostage? That's a great question to think about. What if I told you that your power isn't gone? It's trapped in your mindset. And you may think you don't have a choice, but you do. I am going to talk to you about the joy mindset quadrant, and I'm going to break it down for you so that it sounds clear. It is a roadmap for survival moving into self leadership. So let's start looking at the restricted mindset. That's the red one. It's the bottom left-hand corner. As you can see, this is where your joy gets held hostage. A person operating in the restricted mindset may feel stuck, overwhelmed, reactive. They're basically waiting for permission to live, and they're looking for it from others, and they are afraid. The storyline here is I have no choice. I can't do anything with my bad luck. But that's not true. The truth is, moving into the next mindset is when awareness is created, and that is the awakening mindset. That's the blue color right there. When a person is operating in the awakening mindset, this is the moment when they finally wake up and they realize, hmm, something has to change. And they become aware of their behaviors, their attitudes, and their thoughts. When a person is operating in the awakening mindset, this is a really cool place to be. Why? Because they shift from thinking that they're powerless into there are possibilities and I can change and I have power. As you can see, when a person's operating in the awakening mindset, that they have uh, high joy and they have low skills. So they need to learn some skill sets for handling difficulties. And when a person's in restricted, they have low joy and low skills. Now, let's move into the natural mindset. This is a really cool mindset. This is the green one, as you can see on this diagram right here. This is when alignment begins to feel normal, meaning people know how to exert their power. For example, they know how to set boundaries. They know how to make decisions that match their values. And they understand that self care and self compassion are important for one's holistic wellness. And they're okay with loving themselves and implementing self care practices. This is when a person trusts themselves again. This is where inner leadership is activated. The final mindset is the joy mindset. That's my favorite. Why? Because joy means journey options you choose. It's about your free will and your personal agency. And joy is not happiness, it's not a mood, it is your free will. It's where self leadership operates, and it's where joy integrates spirit, mind, heart, and body. Here, a person's thought is I choose my path. I lead with intention. The joy mindset operates in empowerment, in alignment. This is joy. The joy success quadrant is your opportunity to learn how your mindset is operating because ultimately, mindset is what either keeps you hostage or empowers you. And the beautiful part, it's your mind, it's your mindset, and you get to choose. So today's call to action is visit joyoptions.org and take the Joy Mindset Assessment.